In a time when the vocal minority of Americans find it fun to crap on America, kneel for our anthem, and rip down our statues, bash our founders, it's good to be with a man, a legend, who proudly loves the USA. His song has become like a second national anthem, and I'm honored to have him here with me, Lee Greenwood. Lee, thank you so much for being here. Everybody knows the song. Everybody loves the song. It's basically a 4th of July anthem at this point, and next year is celebrating 40 years. What does that mean to you?
Well, I wrote it in 1983, and I was touring really heavily. I just signed with MCA. My label mates were Reba McEntire, George Strait, the Oak Ridge Boys, and Barbara Mandrell. And Barbara and I had a duet album, and we were all working very hard, 300 days a year. And so to know that I wrote a song in the back of my bus for an album cut, it really wasn't meant to be a single, and then emerge as an anthem for America in today's generations. It's humbling. And at the same time, I'm so proud that I've done something to move America forward, you know, take us to where we need to be instead of going backwards. Back
when you wrote the song, correct me if I'm wrong, but people love the country. Most people love the country, whether they were a Democrat or a Republican, they were a Christian, an atheist, people loved the country that they lived in. That's not the same as we sit here in 2022. Especially over the last couple of years, there's been a vocal effort to really cancel everything that it means to be an American. All of our symbols of patriotism, our anthem, our American flag. As somebody who really is synonymous with patriotism, what has this time been like for you? And like I said, the vocal minority of people who seem to find it so fun to just crap on our country.
I think you put it very right. I think it is a vocal minority. I like the way you phrase that, because I tour the country, you know, and as we tour, we find not just conservatives, we find Americans. In all small towns, big cities, there are people who do love the country, but they don't have a voice. I don't know why conservatives tend to say, don't tend to say enough. They are more silent about it. And it's funny because we kind of whisper, look out, there's a liberal. And it's like, why don't we say that out loud, you know? And so I'm proud to know that I represent that voice. And all I can, as you know, my work with at least 5 conservative presidents and performing for 10, it gives me an insight to where which president has done the best and which ones are meaningful to our population. Are they good enough for America, and has America moved forward under each administration? And it's a little disappointing that a president of the United States would have so much influence over the rest of the country, because we all have a voice and we could use it if we want to, but a lot of people don't.
A lot of people cancel themselves. But you brought up something, so I have to ask you. You've performed for so many presidents, Republicans, Democrats, everybody. Who do you think of those people loved this country the most, or at least seemingly loved this country the most and the least?
Well, I would say probably 41, because we became very good friends. I performed at the White House with a congressional appearance for the Reagans, and at the time Bush was vice president. I met them both, and there's a cute little picture you can find somewhere online. I'm standing with Nancy Reagan and the president's at the podium, and he had said something about I had come from Texas, and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. President, I came from Tennessee." "Oh, well, sorry." You know, you interrupt the president of the United States. But I met 41 then, and we became very close. I actually sang for him in Kennebunkport just before he passed. I think he was the most wonderful president, and of course he was a war hero. He was the head of the CIA. He was very smart. He learned a lot of the comedy quips from Reagan, but at the same time he really loved America. He loved it very much. What president I think had moved the country forward the most would be our former president, Donald Trump, because I think when he said "Make America Great," he meant it. And the worst, well, I hate to say, you know, on your camera, but there's several that I did not like on the left, and
right,
you know who they are.
I wish it was not a partisan thing to love your country, but there's a certain segment of the population that wants to make it a partisan thing, even saying that they're triggered by seeing American flags. I mean, that was an article that liberals are writing. They drive through towns and they see American flags and they feel like it's a symbol of white people. It's not a symbol of white people. It's not a symbol of people of color. It's a symbol of Americans, red, white, and blue, and that's it. So we're happy to have you and your voice out there for the silent majority that should be the vocal majority of Americans who love this country. But I want to transition to another topic.
Okay.
So as we know, the CDC finally came to their senses and said, hey, listen, vaccinated and unvaccinated people, we're going to treat them the same. We're going to make sure everything's open. We're going to stop the quarantining of the asymptomatic people. We're going to do away with all of that. Wonderful. Probably 2 years too late. What impact did the COVID era have on your business, and will the music industry be able to rebound without raising their ticket prices to such astronomical levels that middle-class Americans can't afford?
The last part, we have rebounded already. In 2020, I kind of prayed for more work, and the Lord dumped it on me. And so in 21, we probably worked 60, 70 days on the road. And I have a tour support, ABC Supply out of Beloit, Wisconsin, and they're all in for me. So they said, as much as you want to tour. Well, this year, probably over 120 dates. And that's a lot, because I'm aging and I don't really like the tour that much. But at the same token, I want to get the message out. I want to do as much as I can to keep America off its knees and appreciate who we are as the greatest country on earth. So 2020 was rough. And I believed in all of the things we did for COVID. But at the same time, here's the approach I think they should have taken. Keep the old folks home. Don't shut down the economy. Those people who have to work, let them work. When you shut down the economy, that became a worse threat than the COVID. Mm-hmm. It set us back 10, 15, 20 years. And then the oil crisis, of course, you've got that to deal with. But once we got rid of the masks thing and the mask mandate, which I don't think the CDC really should have had that kind of control over our population. No. They don't deserve that kind of power. I understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say. I got a boy that's a scientist, and he told me the same thing. He said, masks do help, but at the same time, he said, we all need to be either get disease or get vaccinated, and then we're over it. Let's move on.
Right. Well, again, masks work if you change them every 5 minutes. You never touch them. You wash them, or you have disposable, or you have the medical grade ones. Okay, then maybe masks work. Not when you're wearing the same one every single day and you're breathing in your own filth and your own sweat all day long. All it does is give you mask acne. So there's that. But I'm glad we're rebounding. And I'm glad that we finally are. It should have never happened. I hope we look back at it as one of the dumbest times in recent American history, because it was. But you also cater to a group of Americans who are always essential, and those are our service members and our veterans, and you do a whole lot to help them. Tell my audience what you do and how they might be able to help.
Thank you. My father joined the Navy right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I was born in 1942 while he was deployed. It was an interesting beginning because I didn't serve in the military. At the age of 16, raised by my grandparents in Sacramento, California, we were sharecroppers. I took music instead of sports, and I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. I spent 20 years in the casinos, still not rubbing elbows with the military as much as I would in the future. When I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, the first thing I did was sign up with the National Guard and do USO tours. We did 30 of those tours, and anytime I'm with the military, I actually love being there. So I think, I won't say it's the only thing I do, because we support St. Jude's as well, but we have a function out of Houston, Texas called Helping a Hero, and we build homes for wounded warriors. Over 200 homes in 10 years. And this year, 100 homes we're going to build courtesy of Bass Pro Shops, and Johnny Morris has kicked in to help us with it, a great American, a great patriot. The Breland family in northern Alabama has helped us build this 100 as well. And it's just, it's so heartfelt when I can give a soldier who's a double, triple amputee a key to a house, because then he has a new life, a lease on life. And we're called helpingahero.org. If you go to my website, legreenwood.com, you can also find that link. And not the only thing, we don't need just money. I mean, donations are fine, but when we build a house, we actually get a contractor in a local area where the soldier wants to live, and he donates his time. The subs donate their time. We get maybe 100 volunteers, and we can build a $500,000 house in about 7 months.
Wow.
So a little bit of cash is fine. But then now that we have such a fast track to build all these homes, and we're not going to stop this year, we need the veterans. We need people to nominate a vet. If you know somebody who's either a burn victim or a PTSD or an amputee, let us know who they are. Adopt a vet, and that go to the website as well. And that's helpingahero.org.
That's fantastic. And a lot of people talk about supporting their country and supporting their veterans, but you actually do it, and you do it in a big way, and it means so much. And just hearing your songs, honestly, would be enough, because it means a lot to people, and it instills a patriotism and a reminder that we do love our country. And this is the only one we got. There's nowhere else to flee to. It's the greatest nation on the face of the earth, no matter who the president is. And we thank you for always reminding us of that. You have something else special coming out, a God Bless the USA Bible. Tell me about that.
You know, Kim and I, we both have our own personal Bibles, and they're on our nightstands. And we have a family Bible that sits in the table in the center of the room that is kind of a historic thing. It lists people and so forth that have been before us. I thought it was very important that our country, I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative or you're an immigrant or not an immigrant, you need to know how our country got started. And I had a lot of people, it's funny, along the way said, you know, your song should be the national anthem. And I said, no. If you look at your history, and when Francis Scott Key was imprisoned on a ship offshore, and he looked up and the battle over Fort McHenry was taking place, we could have lost the country that night. And when he wrote the Star Spangled Banner, because the flag is still flying, I said, that's going to be our national anthem forever. Don't worry about that. But a lot of people have never read the Constitution. And if they read the Bill of Rights, it might have been in school during their civics class. And if you go to Washington, D.C., you might see it, but it's in really tiny print. So we have a leather-bound, beautiful Bible. It's the King James Version. And in the back of the Bible, we don't touch God's Word. And in the back of the Bible, there's the Constitution, readable, the Pledge of Allegiance, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. And so now you have in one book, you have what we believe as a Christian, a conservative Christian, if you will, how we got started as a world, and then how we got started as a country.
I can think of a few folks in D.C. that maybe should get those for the next holiday. Maybe it would do them well to read both parts. I think they're missing both.
I need to send it.
So I think that there's a lot of people, maybe starting right out with Joe Brandon and maybe Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, just a few, especially that Constitution and Bill of Rights part, because that seems to be lost on them to a great degree. But thank you so much for being here and everything that you do and being in Tennessee, and we're so happy to have you, and we can't wait to celebrate the 40th year of that song next year.
Thank you, Tommy.
All righty. And don't forget, guys, you can watch the full show on Outkick.com as well as exclusive content. But up next, Californians are once again being asked to bake in the sweltering heat in their own homes so there isn't another blackout. Sounds like California. My final thoughts are next.